And here we are. Oh my gosh,
Hey.
I'm very excited about this episode because not only are we going to enmesh ourselves in the intertwining, the catechist of all the magic that happens in our past lives, but we're going to learn a lot today. My good friend Sarah Carney, Akashic record interpreter, reader, tarot educator, amazing lady, and all around cool person. Sarah, welcome to Walking the
Thank
Crossroads.
you. And you
Thank
should
you for
also mention
being
I'm
here.
4'10", so that's a thing.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm
okay,
All right.
very
okay,
Well,
short.
now,
okay.
Miss
Well,
Sarah Jane, how did you first get interested in the occult arts or just reading people? How did that come across to you?
Oof. Honestly, it started when I was in junior high and I was reading about Led Zeppelin. And I was like, oh, okay, Aleister Crowley, Tarot,
Right.
The Hermit,
Sure.
Jimmy Page,
Right. Sure.
But I mean, I guess it started before that. When we talk about like occult stuff, I think about childhood. I mean, I dressed as the devil for Halloween, like I've always kind of had that desire to understand the arcane, I guess. It was a natural fit for me. But in terms of reading, it was really started in junior high. And then I've been doing it professionally only for a few years. I was in corporate. I actually, I proofread tax legislation, which is as wonderful as it sounds.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
only like a little soul crushing, like not too much, but just soul crushing
it
enough.
sounds, yeah, a
Yeah,
touch, yeah, a sprinkle.
exactly. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
made my boss at the metaphysical shop that I work at, that Darren is well familiar with. I made her hire me.
Can we give a
Yes.
shout out to Sticks and
Hell,
Stones and
hell
all
yeah,
Oh,
the
we can.
wonderful people that are incorporated in Sticks and Stones in the DC area, Fairfax, Virginia.
Fairfax,
hey.
Virginia. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we're
in Fairfax. You're sitting in the reader room right
I
now.
am. I
So
am.
So
This
the
is where this.
background, yeah, and
Yeah.
Darren knows that room well because he's been a practitioner at
I'm
that
feeling the
location
energy
for a
from
long
it.
time.
Can I?
And you're
Can
gonna
I?
Yeah.
come visit and do readings here yourself sometimes, right?
Very, very shortly in May. I'm
Okay.
helping my mother relocate to Richmond, and then I'm trying to thread that into the whole trip
Yeah.
to come and work.
Prepare the city for the king's arrival. This guy.
Uh,
There
Prepare
is no
prepare the
preparation.
grand feast. Darren Bucare extraordinaire will come. That's great. Yeah.
Launch the Viking ships. Speaking of
Yes.
which,
Indeed.
what
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about what, Led Zeppelin? They have some like past life stuff threaded into some of their lyrics and things.
Oh man, they're usually talking about either hobbits or Vikings. That's
Yeah,
I'm all
kind of
about. That's
real
why I said the
Celtic and
Vikings.
Norse lore. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of
really.
their wheelhouse. No Quarter being my favorite, which is definitely Viking oriented.
Hmm.
Okay,
Jimmy
now
Page,
we're friends. Now we're friends. That's my song. Not a
yeah,
lot of
No
people
Quarter is
like
the
that.
shit.
Okay,
The
okay. Now
land of the
that's
ice and snow. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
That's the immigrant song. But
yeah.
yeah, they're
Oh
all
my
good.
goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually, Jimmy Page lived in on Loch Ness in Aleister Crowley's old house.
Oh,
He did.
he
He
did?
did.
So
No
Yeah, he
yeah,
way.
did. He had
there's
some
some
experiences there too. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
yeah,
Very
fantastic stuff.
interesting.
I
Yes.
had no
Yeah.
idea that had.
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
Jimmy Page.
he'd bought a lot of other things from the OTL and from the Golden Dawn. He's an
Mm,
Hmm.
aficionado, but when he got the chance to live there,
mm.
he documented some of his experiences, and they got a little dicey, from what I
Oh yeah,
understand. So yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't move
he had
in his old house. Yeah, very
yeah,
casually. Yeah, I mean, even
sure,
me,
yeah,
given what how I could protect I wouldn't
need a
do it
shit
like
ton of
thinking that
salt.
it would be no big deal. Like no,
I'd have
not
salt all
casual.
around the whole house, just like a big ring of salt around the
Like
whole
moving
thing.
into John D's house in Mortlake. Like I'm just gonna,
Right.
this should be
Yeah.
easy. Like casual weekend, right? No problem.
You're the
well, yeah. Jimmy Page
reincarnation
didn't
of
always have the
Edward
best
Kelly, so
discernment.
let's go. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now, it's as far as now, I know a little bit about the Akashic records, just
Hmm.
like some people who might have done some metaphysical research, but I don't have a ton of experience in actually traversing the mental plane and getting into it. So I would like somebody who practices that particular thing to explain to our friends out here what are the Akashic records, and if you have any background or history, just anything you wanted to tell us about it would be dope.
Sure. So I'll start with the word itself.
Mm.
Akasha means several different things, but my favorite interpretation is sky. And I can tell you that the Akashic record is basically a record of everything that has or will or potentially will happen in the multiverse.
Hmm.
Basically every plane, every incarnated soul, everything that is connected, everything that is in that web of connection and spirit and light. And so I
And I
actually
hate to
got into
pause
it.
you
Oh, go
there,
ahead.
Sarah, just to
Yeah.
ask. So for my cousin Joey, there is the multiverse, this idea that's been threaded into all this popular culture lately. You know,
Hmm.
this is a thing. This is
Yeah.
happening. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So good. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Universe, multiverse.
Hmm. But
And
there are
it
many,
is
many other universes, not just our own
dimensions, planes, all of that good stuff. You know,
realities.
thinking
Okay.
about,
Yeah,
Spider-Man into the
quantum
multiverse, all that.
physics, mysticism, quantum
Yeah.
physics, and
Which
then
are
they
they're
get
Strange.
together.
dovetailing
The
into
whole
each
thing.
other. I mean, they're
Right.
literally like science is catching up with mysticism. It's fantastic.
It
Which
is
is
Um,
wonderful.
part of what we're doing here on this podcast is kind of trying to create a hybrid between
yes.
mysticism and science, between, faith and actual experience. But, there's a lot of different elements to it, and I like the way that they're coming together. All right, so you're basically saying that akasha is a word for sky, and
Hmm.
that it's a
Ether.
representation, ether, right? It's a
Yeah.
representation of past, present, future, things that
Mhm.
can or will or did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's other beings, though. It's not just humans. It's
Oh
animals.
yeah.
It's just karma. It's a lot of
Yeah.
aspects. So I mean, I
Yeah.
read a
And
little bit about that.
karma is one of the central kind of things that we talk about when we talk about akasha. More, not so much the
Right.
you've done something wrong and therefore something's
Mhm.
coming after you. It's more of like having to do with the lessons you need to learn on your life's path.
Right.
And so usually, I did an akashic reading today, and I did give the caveat. I was like, this is less about like, does this boy like me, and it's more about like, how do I fulfill my dharma on this earth? How do I do the big spiritual questions?
And
So
Dharma's our path and how we approach it and what
mhm,
we do with it, right?
yeah,
To some
yeah.
degree.
Right. A lot of
So
these are Buddhistic terms, so we might want to roll out like dharma, karma. These words
mhm.
are
Mhm.
important to think about because dharma is like the way you hold yourself, and karma is what happens because of that.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic explanation. Yeah,
Thank you. I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
So, yeah, I
Can I
actually
ask
got
this
into.
question?
Okay,
So
yeah,
going back to, and this is an Anne Rice thing because I'm like, and
I
I've met
know.
her
I
several
knew. All
times,
right.
but
Yes. Yeah.
she picked the word akasha for the
Right.
Queen of the
Right.
Damned.
I
oh
totally
okay.
think that that's no mistake.
Oh, of
I don't think
course,
That's
that's a
yeah.
mistake.
probably
Yeah.
no, right? Am I
Yeah. Yeah. When I
spitballing
was
here?
every time I hear the word Akasha, I think she grabbed that because she's the queen of the ether,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right? So because when you actually go through all the books at the end, the connection between all of them is etheric. It's not blood
Mm.
because
Aaliyah,
it
God
comes from.
rest your soul as well. Yeah, Aaliyah
Yeah,
was,
yeah, no,
yeah, you know,
that's I love all those
rest
books,
in
but
power,
yeah,
Aaliyah. Yeah.
the idea of
Hmm.
the ether,
Hmm.
and also, I mean, even in general, I know we're explaining things as we're trying to talk to you, but the physical plane, the mental plane, emotional plane, spirit plane, those are all represented in the Akashic
Yes,
records.
absolutely.
So
Yes. Yeah.
why
So
don't you
kind
tell
of.
us, like, how do you go into a session like that, and what do you do?
So in the morning, I wake up and I do basically what I learned during attunement. So I do special prayers. And then when I actually sit down with somebody, I do another set of prayers. And I have to have their name, their like proper name, full name, which
Right.
I say 3 times. And then I go into the records, which is basically like, I guess the best way to describe it is downloads. I mean, it's just information, yeah, kind of. Um, Stuff that I shouldn't know that I just do. I don't know how to
Oh,
explain it. Kind of like a type of
is that
clair.
clairsentient reading? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
claircognizant, claircognizant.
Right.
Hmm.
And it's interesting. I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I've also been doing dream interpretation, past life regression, all kinds of stuff. And this is just such a different animal because it's so you're so able to tap into it. Basically, one of the things that I always kind of joke that I'm a bad businesswoman because I tend to want to empower people to learn how to do this for themselves.
Right.
And with Akasha in particular, once you kind of learn the prayers, once you learn how to access, it can be open to all, and it's supposed to be open to all.
There you have
It's
it.
not
Right.
something that I want to be a gatekeeper on and say, no, you have to come to me and also give me $500. And also, it's not like that
Right.
for me.
Sure.
Hmm.
And knowing what I do about karma, that works.
I love that, Sarah. I love that.
Right.
Hmm.
No, that I mean, listen, I also theosophy was the main
Hmm.
beginning with
Yep.
Blavatsky or whatever her name is. I always get that name wrong, but that Helena, you know what I'm saying? That the
Hmm.
one who brought that. Theosophy is an interesting school. And
Madame
if you know,
Blavatsky.
yeah, that one. I can
Okay.
never say the
All
name
right.
right.
All right. I got you
Pardon
faded,
me.
man. I got you faded.
Minus 10 occult points for this guy. Yes, I got
Hey,
you.
you know,
Right,
that's why
but
I'm here. That's why I'm here.
right. So in the Theosophy tradition, I know that they were the first people to kind of bring that from the Buddhistic into the Western world. But of course, the Tibetans and like people have been doing this for a long
Oh yeah.
time. But the interpretation that we have of it now, coming through that, and Edgar Cayce, of course. Now, Darren, you
Yes.
have some experience with that, with Edgar Cayce stuff
Yeah,
and
well,
doing
he leaned
readings
into
and
somnambulism, which is picking up things while you're in REM sleep, and then being
right.
able to share when you wake awake. And he would have all he would write like volumes and volumes of
Yeah.
stuff when he awoke. You
Well, do you
know,
think he was accessing the Akashic records while he was doing his thing? Maybe that's where he was
and
getting his
His brain
information
waves.
from.
Yeah. Those
You know
altered
what I'm
states
saying?
of
Like that's where I was
consciousness.
kind of going
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's I
if
mean,
I
and
could
that's
ask some nuts and bolts, like I think because in my like this has all been like a kind of a gray area for me. It just hasn't been an area of study for me. So there is no like actual like these are the Dead Sea Scroll. These are the records that we just like. No, there is. It's just going through the actual like what's going on in the subconscious in the akasha in the ether is what you're saying.
Okay. So it's interesting. A lot of people talk about it being almost like a spiritual representation of a physical library, and they
right.
explain it like almost like a Harry Potter magical kind of a library. But for
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
me, the first time I ever went into that realm, into that altered state, it was a tablet in the desert, and it
Okay.
was
Ooh.
very Stanley Kubrick. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it
Sure.
was
Ooh.
The
definitely a little bit
monolith.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
once I go into the
Awesome.
monolith and I'm going into these kind of upper realms, it takes over a little bit. And my ego, my brain is kind of purged before that when I do the prayers, so
Right.
that I'm not getting any feedback from my own nonsense,
Yeah. No
So we're
physical
losing
plane
ego.
distortion.
Ego's
Right.
out the
Yeah.
door. Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be in AA, and they would say, I would always pray when I spoke not to let my ego take over.
Sure, sure. No, that's good for any occultist, really. It's good to be able to manifest your own will, but not to do it for a douchey reason. You know,
Yes, exactly.
it's good to feel confident, but you don't have to be an a-hole about it. Like
No, don't be
that's
an
the
a
line.
don't be an a-hole. All
Right,
three
that's
of
the
us aren't
line. Right.
shy. I do know. I know that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, I
That's I
mean I'm
know.
a jackass, but I'm
We're
not
not
trying to
shy.
be mean,
Not shy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
I've had some studies, sorry, but some studies where that people see these crystal towers.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They roll up in a crystal city and then they walk towards something and then the doors open and there's like a couple of torches and they go in and there's like, it's like a bunch of different books, a
Yeah.
bunch of different things where you can, and then when you intend to find something about a person,
Hmm.
sometimes you'll be in front of a book and you'll see their name and then
Yes.
you might open it like a file.
Yes. Exactly.
And then
Um,
you head in there and then you have some interaction with that and then you can relay that to the client.
yes. And so with the client, I only look at their aspect of the records. The record applies to everything, but I'm not going to read your boyfriend's records. Like there's an
Sure. Right.
ethical consideration with that.
Sure.
And I wouldn't want to anyway. And so basically, yes, I would stick with what the client is asking, and usually it is up in the higher level of spirituality rather than the mundane day-to-day stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that is a very good explanation of it, kind of like a file, I think.
Sure.
Almost like in a computer. For me, it's very like technology driven. I don't know why. Maybe it's that whole quantum physics thing coming.
Maybe, but you know what? I think maybe that it represents that way to you because that's the way you like to interpret it. It makes sense to your mind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
I mean
for other
that's what
people, they
I
might see it differently. It's
yeah, and
not the
that's what
same
I
to everybody, from what I understand. So
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of what we do as practitioners is filtered through our own ability to see in that way. And so I'm always open. I love going to other readers, and I love hearing how other people experience this and kind of what their mindset is on that. And so with the Akasha, that's been, no different. I love talking to people about what their experience is as well. So.
absolutely. Now, Darren, wouldn't you say that your guides
Hmm.
sometimes speak from those records to you, like through them to you. You know what I'm saying? When you ask them a
Well,
question, do you
they
think they
show
contact
me
that?
I'm clairvoyant, clairsentient. I'm occasionally clairaudient, but like they show me visuals,
Hmm.
and they show me a specific or a thing unfolding in a visual aspect. Um, and it's just very. I might even get an olfactory sense. Like it's. I think it's very specific to me, and I don't really go. I try to keep it very linear in my own theosophical makeup, which
Hmm.
is
Sure.
both Asatru, West African, and even Abrahamic in some way. So it's all threaded into that. So I kind of have my own little baby pool full of divinity forms that I kind of so I have my guides in there with me. So I keep it
Mhm.
kind of in my. I've created my own thing, and I wouldn't say it really applies to the giant realm of what everyone
Right,
else
because
is
because
doing
we've talked
necessarily.
about how you have a very physical plane base, almost the physical senses giving you your answers because it comes through your vessel in that
Hmm.
way where you're not kind of going out to contact it, it's contacting you through the bells and
And
whistles
then
that
I
you
do it
get and you're able to
passively
do
all
it.
the time, where I'm like,
Yeah.
Aunt Sally left you, five croissant sandwiches on your porch last week, and I'm just
Right.
talking to
Right.
somebody, and they're like, that happened to me last week, and I was just kidding,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
so. And
Yeah.
that's weird, but it's funny that you're describing this. And if has either one of you seen the actual movie Doctor Sleep or read the book, which is the
I know that they go into something like that. They
I
the
do,
haven't
right?
seen
visual,
it. That's
if
the sequel
Right.
to The Shining, right?
it's the sequel to The Shining, but if you watch the movie, it's such a visual. You can read it in the book too. The this phantom that's haunting this young girl who's like wildly psychically gifted. She
Right.
traps her in this. When she goes into her library, she invades her library and she's like rifling through all her files. It's all her
Right.
like personal shit, like back through her like past lives and everything. It's a
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
library of
Yeah.
files.
Right.
Like,
Mm.
so
Right.
when you say that, it's like, wow, okay, because they show
Yeah.
that as a visual representation.
Well, I mean, I think
Yeah.
Very
that's
interesting.
common in our culture. Now, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
If somebody comes to you and says, I'm trying to do some work on making my relationship better, or they're just something mundane, like something
Hmm.
physical plane based,
Hmm.
and they ask you for an Akashic reading, you can still get information that can help them through those aspects as
Yeah.
well.
My personal belief system is that it's kind of like we can do that, but it's almost like a waste of good energy to do that, if that makes sense. Like,
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
will
what I
help
wanted to
people.
find out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will help people, as clients with what they need to get done. But for me, it's kind of like what do they talk about? Killing a spider with a hammer, kind of a thing. I don't know. It's more of
Sure.
like a why don't we use this time to talk about how spiritually you can be better with your relationship, if
Okay.
that
Is
So
makes
that
sense.
separating that.
challenging?
Yeah.
Is it challenging for you to talk to a client? And I know, and the clients that come into say for Sticks and Stones, for example, they want to know, I want to know this, or I want to know if I'm going to find a new job. And then when you
Hmm.
say Akashic Records is going to look at the grand picture,
Yes.
the big game, is
Yeah.
it hard to explain that to them that it's like, is that a hard thing to kind of be like, maybe, yeah, like we're trying to, take a bazooka and like knock on someone's door with it, kind of sort of thing.
I do a little debriefing before we do it because it's also
Right.
it's not that it's obviously not anywhere near a new science, but it's something that is newer in the realms that we kind of move in,
Mhm.
especially at the shop. We have never
Sure.
had anyone doing them before, so I try to explain ahead of time. I'm like, look, this is what we can use it for. This is what I find is the most beneficial for other
Mhm.
people, which is the spiritual aspect. But that's again, that's kind of my lens that I see through. So I will do what they, want me to do, and I can do that. It's just I always like to kind of talk about the broader picture, just
But you tell
because.
them it's big picture stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, I think a way to look at that is that if you're coming to get a tarot card reading, the past, present, future you're looking at is just your immediate past, your present, your future in this physical life.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at an Akashic reading, you might be looking at past lives, the
Yeah.
present moment, future lives, how these aspects of your dharma, how you hold yourself, the characteristics of your
Yep.
behavior and your attunements, how are those things leading you on towards future lives that are at a higher frequency?
Exactly. Yes. Talking about
So that's
ascension,
a
talking. Yep.
whole other that's a soul reading.
Yes,
That's not a
exactly.
physical, this is a spirit reading, and I get
Yes.
that. So I wanted to differentiate the two types of things, because when people, like, I think people might be actually interested in readings like this, but
Hmm.
they've never heard of what it is and what the actual action is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, what are you really working with? So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of catching fire for me, and just because of the quantum aspect of it, I think
Mhm.
Right.
anything that's kind of being viewed through that lens right now is what's exciting me. So that's kind of why I'm pursuing it the way that I am, because it's, I think of myself as like a grad student of this stuff, and it's what fascinates me and what resonates with me. And I came from, I remember in college I was very like, Marxist, listening to Public Enemy, and very,
All
just
right.
taking everything with a grain of salt.
Can't trust it, man. Can't trust it. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't trust it.
So there's that
Yeah,
part of me that's still like, this can't be
Yeah.
boy.
fucking real.
That's it. That's it.
Peace.
That's
How
it.
low can you go,
Our
Death
friend Erica just
Row?
went and saw
Yeah.
Public Enemy in
I
LA, and she
know.
said it
Did you
was
see that? Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, she
Oh
said
Oh
yeah.
it
my
Oh my
was
God.
goodness.
life
Fantastic.
Yeah.
changing. Yep.
One
Yeah.
of my
Yep.
first records that I ever DJ'd was
Yep.
basically just
Mhm.
taking Flavor Flav's "Yeah, boy, yip yip
Boy,
yip
Boy,
yip
yeah, yeah.
yip yip yip
how
yip
low
yip
can you
yip
go?
yeah, boy."
Flavor's my favorite. I
Peace.
don't ask
That's
me why. I don't know. I love
I know.
Flavor.
Well,
I
oh,
can
why
relate to
is
Flavor.
Flavor Flav your favorite? I fucking wonder. Yeah,
Shocking.
sure.
Yeah.
Right,
So
that's a
shocking.
shocking
It's the
revelation on Walking
shyness,
the
I think, and
Crossroads.
the
This guy
shyness and
likes
the
Flavor Flav.
subtlety. Yeah.
Right, sure.
Shyness and subtlety, definitely.
Oh,
But okay,
subtlety.
so
Right. Yeah, he's very
right.
subtle.
So when you look at energy consciousness, the
Hmm.
movement of collective consciousness towards awareness that is transcending tradition and tuning into the energy that is between all things, that mysticism is very correlative
Oh
to
yeah.
the Akashic readings. So
Absolutely.
the Buddhistic level of it is very, the self center connects
Hmm.
to all other self centers. And we're all having a similar experience, so we can talk about the gradations of those frequencies from the physical plane to the more spirit plane levels, but you're reading the spirit plane levels. You could
Yes.
go to somebody else if you want to talk about, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's understanding the levels of those, we call them hierarchies, but I'm not sure if it's, a ladder up or down or left or right. That's probably too physical plane of a way to put it. But I like the idea of collective consciousness being important to individuals at this point in time in our world. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's important.
I think about like Jung a lot. I think about that kind of
Mm.
mentality, of wanting to have this, or having, this cohesive.
The chemical
fr-
marriage and
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
Mhm,
exactly.
mhm,
And it
mhm.
is so needed right now. And I think that's why, I am a
There it
bad
is.
businesswoman.
Catechist again. Yeah. There it
Yeah.
is.
Right.
Mhm.
Because I,
Right.
I definitely want to empower people to do this, because that is more important to me than, you know,
I think this is the
Right.
right time for it, Sarah. Good
yeah,
call. Good call. I
absolutely.
used to do so. I'm starting at Marie Laveau's. It's
Hmm.
2000 and it's barely creeping into 2001, and this idiot's there. And then I show up and
This
I
guy.
offer a
This guy.
spirit meditation, right? So it's
Hmm.
kind of it's not. I at the time I wouldn't say it's an Akashic, but I'm asking my spirit guide like, what's up with Bathsheba who's sitting here, like yeah, and
Right.
what's going
Right.
on with her. And it's not necessarily what she wants to hear after
Yeah.
drinking a daiquiri or two on Bourbon Street. Like she just, and I'm like, it's not your fault that you were abused, and like she's crying.
Right.
And then her
Yeah.
friend's like, why did you tell her? Oh my God. And I'm like,
Right.
oh my God. So I
You just
realized that
ruined our girl's weekend.
you
Yeah.
might even remember
I
because you
have
were
a sash and
selling
a
my
crown and
readings
everything.
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
He
So
was pitching my readings right when I started,
yeah.
and I was like, I had to back off it because it just because it was like bourbon and the atmosphere, people weren't.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what they wanted to know because it
Yes.
was big picture stuff. So
Hmm.
it can be, but I think we want to know now, right? What the hell's
Yeah.
going on? What
Right.
up?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think more people would be interested in something that leans into um I don't know, just something for their soul, not something about their life and their family and the people they know, but the inner world, not the
Yeah.
outer world,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
the inner world is gigantic, right? And that's what we're
Oh
figuring
yeah.
out I mean, the mystics have known this for a long time, but it's trickling into popular culture.
Absolutely.
And we have a responsibility to give them good information because there's a lot of stupid shit out there.
Oh yeah,
So that's why we're
absolutely.
here. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're
100%.
talking about this from your level, because that level of consciousness is important to what we're trying to push through on a collective level to raise things, so everybody stops being crazy.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know?
we at the shop we've really kind of exploded in terms of like workshops and stuff that we do. We do mediumship classes, we do everything from like alien night to like tarot classes, everything in between. And it's coming at a time where people are scared. And I am one of the people that actually has faith. And I feel like I owe that to the community to be at least one light in the darkness. I guess that I don't want that to
Mhm.
sound egotistical, but I want to be somewhere. I want there when I do my moon circles, I want there to be a couple hours a week where you're going and you're feeling good about, the way that things are.
I'll put my
Indeed.
firefly butt right next to yours. When I get there, we'll light it up.
Indeed.
No, we'll light it
Light them
because
up and
I
fly
think,
around.
have we
They'll be
not
That's one of
catching
those
you
forgotten?
in a
hippies,
net.
man. I can't help it. They met in a
Yeah.
commune. I do the best I can,
I was a
Yeah.
reader there during COVID, okay? I
Oh my God.
understand. Got up and drove from Baltimore in there, and people were like scared to leave their house. And,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, we gotta, something weird just happened, y'all. We good. We're gonna be
Hmm.
okay. It's
Yeah.
Right.
everything's fine.
Right.
Eggs are expensive. Make something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
You
I
can
just,
honestly sell hope. It's just the
yeah.
way you got to do it
don't do that.
sometimes.
See, we were just talking
Yeah.
about that. You're bad. You're
That's
bad.
been
Get out
okay.
of
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Get out
yeah,
of
yeah.
here.
Get out of here. No, but I'm saying I think
Someone
what
we
people
know
are
said that.
looking.
Oh, you can sell hope. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, but what people are looking for is, how can I manifest a positive destiny for myself and humans right now? Because it seems like
Hmm.
there's so many things that are an affront to that methodology. So we are looking to healers and teachers and people outside of the normal realms of logic to give us a little bit of insight towards what our actual power is, right?
And that's why I'm so excited about the quantum question, is because that way we can talk to people who really have the doubts, the people that really are like, I need science. I need something more than just you telling me that it's going to be okay. Like,
hmm
I need, and the fact that
Right.
you can watch it like dovetailing into each other now is so fascinating and so
Speaking of
exciting.
which, can we
Hmm.
talk about CERN and what they're doing with black holes and how it maybe interrelates to what you're talking about? Possibly, is there a way to kind of, or is it totally separate?
I don't think very many things are separate.
No,
Oh,
I
okay,
think that's the whole point
there,
we're making, right? Yeah. Right.
there it
Sure.
is.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
that stuff is trippy and as of right now above my pay
Mhm.
grade, but basically the way that I kind of look at it is like energy fields. And my dad was doing this type of work back in the
hmm
70s in the
hmm
commune that he was from, with Margaret Mead and all
hmm
kinds of interesting characters that would come and hang out in DC with them.
Right.
Um but you just getting even like the smallest foot in the door with the scientific aspect. Yeah, what do you know about CERN?
Well, my friend Alexis, who I did several readings for, she's an actress on Pitch Perfect, and she'd been to CERN several times. They invited
Oh
her.
wow.
Yeah, she's pretty cool lady.
For
But
for the for the people like cousin Joey, what is CERN?
CERN is a place. It's a lab that they created very deep underground in Switzerland, I believe, and
Yeah.
it's a hadrogen collider where they create superstrings that they can pull together different elements that could relate to time travel. They could basically
Mm,
create a black hole. And
yeah,
there's
Right.
black
supposed to be
holes,
Right.
another hidden
quantum
some sort.
computing, that sort of thing.
When she
Yeah.
uses the word quantum, I'm gonna bring that up because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's as far as I go with it. I don't know a
Well,
whole lot.
okay, so when you think of the idea of a wormhole,
hmm
right?
Hmm.
Something that goes from one dimension to another dimension, a pathway, a tunnel.
hmm
Yes, portal, yeah.
There are those underground in the shamanic systems that go towards the
Hmm.
center of the earth for healing. There are those that go out like astral travel. You might find
hmm
yourself through some kind of spirally thing and you end up in some
Oh yeah.
dimension with other beings. You talking to them, you come back to your body, you're like, hello, what was that?
But
You know what I mean? So all of that tunneling, all of that, I think there's a physical and a spiritual representation of it.
Oh
And I
yeah.
don't think it's different energy. I think it's the same stuff.
But my other
Exactly.
experience with it that I've tried, and I didn't think of it as I'm doing some quantum mechanics here, or I'm gonna go try to hop into other realities, is all I did was like I have a spare room that I can just make a ritual room now. Like,
Sure.
it was like kind of like finally I have a room where I don't have to, it's not a functionality. I just create it. This is what the room is. So I do 4 mirrors on each wall, and they're all like, they can all, so you can do this like corridor of infinite mirrors, but a 4-way version of it. So I would could actually tell whatever version of myself, like maybe 5 mirrors down, to be like hello, and like wait, hi, like I could.
Right.
So where,
I
Right.
love it.
so how
Yeah.
many, so like how did I do that, and what is that guy in another reality, or
Right.
what?
Right.
I mean,
You know
and
how
is he
people go up
cooler
to the
than me,
mirrors?
or is he like, I mean, like what's going on?
I'm thinking
Right.
of the
Right.
movie Us right now, and so I'm getting a little scared. Did you see Us?
Yes.
Oh, it's
No.
Oh,
What?
us
fantastic.
is another one. Yeah, because the mirror thing.
Right. Well, you
It does.
remember. You
It's
remember how.
scary. It
You remember
scared
how
the shit out of me
Juliana
for a
talked
hot
about
minute.
that?
No, it really did. It really did.
Juliana talked about mirrors in her bathroom where there was one there and another one set up
She said it
to
too. Yeah.
exactly right because it was part of an initiation. So any of
Mm,
those shamanic mirror
Hmm.
entering other dimensions, all that Carlos Castaneda stuff, like we've been talking
yes.
about these other worlds or alternative realities,
Hmm.
or whatever we can, because you raise to a certain ascension point in your consciousness and then you see the mystical reality, you come back to yourself and your body and you're like, so what am I supposed to tell people? Like,
Yeah, I
how
mean,
do
the
I
way that I
explain
look at it,
this?
yeah, the way that I look at it for me is facets on a diamond. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
there's
Okay.
each this kind of, it's part of a whole, but there's
Right.
little bits of nuance to it.
Okay.
There's little pieces of it that are
Oh,
going to look different
what a great
depending.
analogy. Yeah. Yeah. That's so
And
Yeah.
great.
the, and
Yeah.
different lights hit it in different angles and they
Yep.
all
Mhm.
reflect and refract off to
Hmm.
everything else. Right. I get that.
Yeah. We're all the
It's a
spokes on the
disco
wheel.
ball, man. It's a disco
It's a
ball in the
disco.
cosmos, baby.
It's
We're
a
just at a
quantum
disco ball
disco
party.
ball. Hallelujah.
Woo!
Quantum.
Baby, we already knew that in the 70s. That's why we were just dancing around little lights, little disco balls,
Knock.
everybody freaking out on acid. Yeah, sounds
Oh
good.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was
sounds
in
good.
high school in the '90s when it was like the '70s revival, man, and definitely
Indeed.
acid was back in a major way. I'll tell you that much. So
I'm not saying that I took a lot of it. I'm saying I took a lot of it.
yeah, no
You
shit,
guys
right?
haven't seen me perform Disco Inferno in karaoke, you're missing something
Right.
very
Yeah.
special.
We should
Yeah.
come
Burn,
back
baby,
into
Yes, I
town.
burn.
We'll
heard.
do karaoke.
Yeah.
We're gonna do
We'll do
it. No, that's
yeah.
happening.
Right.
You
Yeah.
better believe it, Buster. Yeah, that's happening.
Yes, indeed. All right. I
So
mean, okay, so to bring it back to a
hmm
question that I would probably ask is like,
hmm
you're at Sticks and Stones, you're
Hmm.
in Virginia, you offer Akashic Records readings. What else do you do? What kind of classes do you teach?
Ooh, lots. So I kind of think of myself right now, the way that things are expanding in the shop right now because of the community's need. Um, we're doing events almost daily. And so
Wow.
I'm kind of helping to kind of facilitate that on like more the macro level, but micro level, I do a moon circle every Tuesday for women. I also do dream interpretation. I do past life regression, I do tarot, and intuitive messaging. And then some of the other workshops I'm involved with is, the Alien Night that I was mentioning before, which is absolutely outer limits. I mean, just
Where
as
you
cool to
all
see what.
worship Darren. That's fine. That's fine. You can do it.
Well,
It's fine.
I'm
No,
not
no,
gonna
I
stop.
swear, no.
Right. I'm not going to
We do
stop
the
you. Yeah.
we do
Right.
the CE5 protocol. Dr. Stephen Greer, trying to
Right.
make
Sure.
meditative connections with higher beings that are
Sure.
the kind loving ones, not the big scary. Like nothing
Palladians,
from
ceruleans, that sort of
yeah.
jammy.
Dude,
Well, our
I've
girl
I've
Murphy.
played and I've played energy ball like games with purple like alien looking beings on Salvia, just sitting there, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? Oh, you're throwing that at me?" And I throw it back, and they're like, "Good job, son," and they're out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
sure, you can get into it. There's a lot of stuff out there.
yeah.
I mean,
So
that's the adventure, right? That's what I find so interesting. People are so afraid of all this stuff, and it's just part of who we are. So,
exactly, and it's kind
right,
of the way that I look at it is it's a remembrance of what we kind of already were,
sure,
rather than like becoming something different, but like going back to source for me, going back to the void of creation, going back between the places between lives,
It's very
and
fearless. That's
yeah.
wow. Hmm.
right,
Well,
right,
I've been through some shit, so I figured I could handle it.
yeah, sure. No,
I
I
think
appreciate
that
that.
that's the key for anyone that does this kind of exploratory work is
Right.
like, I'm gonna ask this fourth version of myself down the mirror line to like wave
Right.
at me, and it happens, and I'm like, oh god, and it's
Right.
not gonna like come out and try to strangle me, you know. But you have to have been through a little trauma
Yeah.
of some sort to really galvanize your resolve to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think it also works in the way of like I can be of service to others because I've been through trauma.
Sure.
And it was funny, one of the guest readers at the shop one time, he was like, "Promise me that you'll help men too." And I'm like, "Oh, honey, of course. Like, you know, you
Right.
Oh
guys have
yeah.
your own shit that you need to deal with from the way society makes you just completely disassociate from your emotions. And, you know,
Yeah.
I love men. I have a great dad. I have great friends. So being
Hmm.
able to help all people, you know,
Hey,
um,
it doesn't mean that we don't need a lot of help right now because we've been dicks for a long time.
some of you, I will, you know, there are some
I'm
out
just
there that I
saying,
would,
I'm not like, oh, the patriarchy has to crumble. Men are the worst. I'm just saying, like, we have to deal with karma. Bring it back to
yeah.
that. You have to deal with the dharma of patriarchal
Pendulum
society
swings,
and you have
man.
to deal with the
Sometimes,
karma.
you know, it
You
really
got to
Yeah.
deal
does.
with it, you know?
But I think for me, like I like to show people how to ascend with love rather than, you know, hitting you over the
Right,
head with a mallet saying that you've been
right.
oppressing me for so long, which isn't to say that I didn't go through a phase where I was very fucking angry, you know, and I
Yeah.
told
Hmm.
a friend of mine once told me, he's like, "You're not an assassin. You know, you're 4'10". You don't need to be carrying this shit with you."
Sometimes yelling at people doesn't make them listen to you if they're already agitated and aggressive to begin with. You're just fueling their fire.
Exactly.
They're looking for an argument. What you need to do is show them grace. And
Exactly.
So
then they wonder why would you show me grace and harmony when I'm not being harmonic? And the thing is, I'm trying to teach you where you can be. That's the breadcrumbs theory, right?
Exactly.
That's our
Exactly.
dharma. If we show them the dharma of a peaceful being, maybe they'll get hip to it at some point and stop bothering us. I mean, that's my fucking problem. Just trying to get them to stop bothering me. No, but I mean, I want people to be like nice because I'm nice. I'm trying to mirror what I want to see. I'm not trying to be an asshole to them just because they're mean. So yeah, I hear you on that.
what
It's
I've
hard not to do
started
that.
suggesting about a decade ago to people that approach me with like, I really want to burn this person's like life down, or they're asking me like I'm mad or I have a revenge fantasy, and I say, what if we send that person some positivity to help them focus on that instead of attacking you? How does
Yeah,
that
and I'm
change the paradigm? And then you're not going to be under the gun at that point. You know, how do we do that?
well, you know, this has come up recently for me where, you know, everybody was kind of like, arm yourself, you know, and I'm like, I'm not going to make somebody that I hate make me go back on something that I don't agree with. Like I'm not the kind of person that wants to arm myself, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I have to.
Well, look,
And so
people come in the shop all the time and they ask me, I want to attack this person. And I say, if you attack them, then you are vibrating at the frequency that they vibrated towards you did not like. And you're also
yeah,
becoming them. It's like some Darth Vader shit. Like you
exactly.
that's not the move. So the move is creating a mirror. Speaking of mirrors, you create a mirror so that what they send to you comes back to them in the form of karma.
Exactly.
And it
Hate's
helps
a
Yeah.
them evolve
wasted
quicker.
emotion. You're forming a
Yeah. You don't need to do
relationship
that.
Yeah.
of negative connection with someone, and you're
Hmm.
forming a currency of give and take with them. If you don't like that person, do not form a current currency
Yeah.
connection with them of give and take.
Yeah.
If you don't like them, leave them alone. Wish them well. You know, bless your heart. Peace out, Brussels sprout, and do your
Right.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's
Yeah.
especially
it.
the
I mean,
Brussels sprout part. I mean, and also the it's the psychic connection, right? The psychic cord. If you cut the psychic cord by giving them no energy, they have nothing to feed off of, and then they go do that to someone else, or maybe they stop doing it because it didn't feed them, and they learn from that. But you still
Hmm.
stay in a more exalted state,
Yes.
and that's what I try to tell people to do every day.
Yeah.
So,
And they're all
indeed,
just
well,
teachers,
that's
you know what I mean? Everyone that
yeah.
you can't stand as a teacher, and that if we look at it that way, I mean, I think that yes, the end result is going to be better, but it's also going to be us living a life that's more fulfilling. You know, every day that
Indeed.
you walk in peace is a life that's more fulfilling than if you were to do the opposite.
Yo, mic drop.
and at
That's
times
it.
we do have to
You got to walk in
exit
peace because
things
there's no other
that aren't
alternative,
working
really.
for us. Though we
Yeah.
do have to
Yeah.
take things away and subtract them from our life. You know,
Yeah.
Well, to
and
go back to my hippie roots and Jim Morrison, you know, they got the guns, but we got the numbers, you know, and
there you
we can
go.
do this.
Yeah.
We can do this, you know. And Jim Morrison was my
Gonna make
fake
it,
boyfriend.
baby, in our
He
prime.
was my imaginary boyfriend when I was in junior high. Oh my God. My mom
Oh
took me
yeah.
to see the Doors movie and I was like 12 and it did not go well. but you know,
Well,
That's
Tim,
half
yeah,
Tim was
that
it's a
movie's half the
fantastic.
reason I
Oliver
found myself
Stone
in the
was not
desert
playing
on
around with
acid a
that
couple
movie.
times. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I'm a
Ride the
big
snake,
Morrison
Oliver
fan.
Stone. Do it. Ride the snake.
Yes, indeed.
Let
Yeah.
me
All
tell
right.
you. Let me tell you.
All right. So we're gonna bring this back down from the Akashic records through the ethereal matrix back down into physical plane. Beep.
yes.
It's been really amazing to talk to you. I think this is probably part one of a couple of different talks because there's other variations off of that diamond we could shine. But thank you
Carries a
for
wealth of
coming to
knowledge
talk to
when you get
us.
to know her. Yeah,
No,
she's incredible. Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
it's great.
Really true.
And so the next episode, hopefully, Darren, will be part 3 of your little story. You're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, I
do
have more to
yeah,
share. One of the more
right,
dramatic things that ever happened to me in my life. So yeah, we're gonna do that.
right. So that's
Sarah, I
coming
look
up.
forward to chopping it up with you. Maybe we can do some positive energy work for all the peeps in the
Fuck
area
yeah.
when I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know on dates and stuff. I'm kind of finalizing some things. You know, I gotta
Yeah.
move my shout out to my mother, who's fantastic. It was just her
Hell
birthday,
yeah.
and all
Moms
the
are the best.
Pisces out there that are rocking it spiritually
My
right
dad's my
Yep.
now.
best friend. Yep. Pisces.
Yeah.
Y'all
My
don't
Um,
my
play.
my
Pisces
my
don't play.
beautiful son is a Pisces and he's doing his thing. So
Telling you,
yes,
they don't
he's
play
all the
around.
Pisces.
dreamy and
And
watery.
yeah,
Well,
my
thank
moon's
you
in
so
Pisces, so
much.
I've actually never been here. So yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it was great meeting you. And I really
You
enjoyed
too.
it tonight. And if you are ever near Fairfax, anyone come on down to Six and Stones. We got a lot to tell you. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And
Beautiful.
we'll look for
Thanks
you
so
again
much.
next time on Walking the Crossroads.
Peace,
Thanks.
guys. Bye.
Bye.